Okay, so this is the review videos for the final exam study guide. We're going to start from the beginning and go all the way through. If you have questions after watching these videos, make sure to ask Ms. Kilgore. Either ask in class, or you can send a remind or send an email. So starting at the beginning, the Qing and Ming dynasties. These would be Chinese dynasties, of course, after the age of exploration. So if you remember from last semester when we were talking about Zheng He and the other explorers, Zheng He, of course, was the Chinese explorer who traveled all around the Indian Ocean to the east coast of Africa, Arabia, the Middle East area. After that time period is when we have the Qing and the Ming dynasties. So during these time periods, we have the policy of kowtow. Kowtow, of course, is where Europeans had to bow down to the emperor, promoting Chinese superiority. Basically, by bowing down, the Europeans were acknowledging that the Chinese were above them in China and supporting the Chinese social class system. Eventually, though, especially after word comes back of the many different cultures, China decides to get rid of European influence from their culture. So does Japan at the same time. And one of the biggest ways that they do this is by stopping the trade with Europeans. The Chinese emperor writes a lovely letter to the British king basically saying, we don't need your trade goods, we can provide everything we have here. Alright, next are our Islamic Gunpowder Empires. First one we're going to look at is the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire is located here, right about where Turkey is, through Arabia, and into a bit of North Africa, but mostly it's Turkey, Greece area, and Arabia. The biggest thing that all three of these empires will have in common will be they expand through military conquest using gunpowder and artillery. The leader of the Ottoman Empire that you need to know is Suleiman the Magnificent. Sometimes he's called Suleiman the Lawgiver. And in this empire, Suleiman created a code of laws. He's also responsible for conquering the Middle East and Arabia. The Ottoman Empire is known for lots of trade, especially along the Silk Road that ran through the empire. They also had the Janissaries, the slave Christians who became personal soldiers of the Sultan, the leader. The Mughal Empire is located over here in India. They also expanded through military conquest with gunpowder. Babur was the founder of the Mughal Empire, and Akbar is the one who expanded the empire. During the Mughal Empire, Akbar helped to spread Buddhism, and we will also see the Taj Mahal. That's that building that's on the front of our textbooks. And the last one is the Safavid Empire. And the Safavid Empire is located right in between the Ottoman and the Mughal empires in what's modern-day Iran, or used to be called Persia. Also expanded through military conquest and gunpowder. The Shah, or king of the Safavid Empire, was Abbas I, and they're best known for making and selling Persian rugs. Similarities between these empires. They were all Islamic, meaning the official religion was Islam, but they were religiously tolerant. They did allow people of other religions to live and work in the empires. They had extra taxes to pay in many cases, and all of them used gunpowder to conquer, guns and artillery to conquer territory. Different locations. The Ottoman Empire will survive the longest of these empires, and they will each, although they are all Islamic empires, they will all have a slightly different way of practicing Islam. Not all the exact same way of practicing. Alright, Unit 7, the Enlightenment, beginning with the Enlightenment. So, of course, start with the definition. This is the movement that uses reason and logic to solve mostly political problems, but some social problems as well. And this movement, the Enlightenment movement, is in very much cases a reaction to the absolute monarchs of the time period. The kings and queens that ruled with total power. They didn't take advice from anybody, and they did what they pleased. So 3 people that I want you to remember. John Locke, he was English. He believed in natural rights, life, liberty, and property, and he believed that the government should protect these rights. Jean-Jacques Rousseau believed in the social contract that the government is by the will of the people, and if the government becomes corrupt, the people can have the government replaced. And Voltaire, of course, believed in freedom of speech and religion, also that religion should be separate from the government. Government can't prohibit these rights in any way, meaning they should not endorse a religion, but they also should not forbid religions, and you have the right to speak or print what you wish as long as it is true. Government should not, of course, prohibit these rights. All three of these Enlightenment philosophers, along with the others that existed, these new ideas are, in many cases, what helped spur revolutionary ideas. First, of course, in the United States and in France, and later we see revolutions spread to Latin America and the Caribbean. Speaking of our revolutions, let's start with the English Revolution, otherwise known as the Glorious Revolution. The biggest reason that this revolution took place is because the king was Catholic and the parliament and most of the people in England were Protestant, and Protestants wanted to keep the Catholics out of power. So this is a largely bloodless revolution, meaning that there wasn't any fighting. Parliament sent a letter to King James II's daughter and son-in-law, William and Mary, and asked them to come be king and queen. They came, King James left, and William and Mary became king and queen, and England became a constitutional monarchy with a Bill of Rights, meaning that the power of the monarch was limited by that constitution. Then we had the French Revolution. Of course, these do not go in order on our timeline. The French Revolution is largely because of the estate system. The third estate, which would be everybody except the nobility and clergy, had to pay for everything, all the taxes. France was also having economic issues because it had just finished helping the US in their revolution. At the end of the French Revolution, France does become a republic for a short time. Eventually, Napoleon takes power in a coup d'etat before the balance of power is eventually restored after the French Revolution. The French Revolution, along with the American revolutions, helped to inspire later revolutions in the Caribbean and Latin America. The American Revolution took place in 1776. That's when it started, and it was largely due to unfair taxes. The colonists felt that the British Parliament should not be imposing taxes on them since there was no colonial representation in Parliament. At the end of the Revolutionary War, the U.S. became independent. The Haitian Revolution. Part of this was due to the ideas and inspiration from the U.S. and French revolutions. It was also beginning as a slave revolt led by Toussaint Louverture. End result, Haiti became independent. In Latin America, also ideas spread by the U.S. and French revolutions. The Haitian and Latin American revolutions were also helped out by the fact that Napoleon was tying up their colonial governments in Europe, so there wasn't as much oversight on these countries. Latin American colonies will also become independent. Just quick highlight of Napoleon. Napoleon comes to power at the end of the French Revolution. He comes to power through a coup d'etat, which is a sudden overthrow of the government. Under Napoleon's rule, he did create the Napoleonic Code, where he restructured the French laws. He redid the tax system, the banking system. He created public schools. He really did a lot for France, but he messed up Europe politically. His biggest problems were when he tried to blockade Britain, who actually had a stronger navy. And, of course, he invaded Russia and got stuck in the winter, which was a really bad idea. That Russian winter really destroyed that advance and killed most of his troops. At the end of Napoleon's rule, after he's defeated, there's the Congress of Vienna. And at the Congress of Vienna, led by Clemens von Metternich, the representatives decide to restore a balance of power to Europe, meaning that they decide that we need to put the monarchies back in power, and we need to just put everything back the way it was before Napoleon. And we're going to take away a little bit of France's land to prevent France from ever being that powerful and trying to take over the continent again. Alright, we're going to pause here. The next video will pick up with Unit 8.